My dear friends, trust is like glass. Once it breaks, even if you try to put the pieces back together, the cracks always remain. Think about it. When someone hurts you once, it's not just pain they cause, they create a permanent dent in the foundation of trust. And here's the reality: if they've done it once, they can do it again. That is why we must be careful whom we allow into our hearts, because not everyone who smiles at us truly wishes us well. Today, I want to share with you why trusting someone who has already hurt you can be dangerous, and how you can protect your peace, your heart, and your future. My dear friends, trust is one of the most delicate and powerful things in life. We often give it so casually, without thinking, without measuring, without realizing its depth. But trust, if you look closely, is not something that can be handed over instantly, like a gift wrapped in shiny paper. Trust is something that must be earned brick by brick over time. Imagine for a moment that trust is like a bank account. Every kind word, every honest action, every promise kept, those are deposits. Slowly, steadily, the account grows. But the moment someone lies to you, cheats you, betrays you, disrespects you, that is not just a small withdrawal. That is like an entire account being emptied in one stroke. Suddenly, everything you thought you had, every bit of security and safety you felt, disappears. And the truth is, when we allow people to enter our lives without them having proven their worth, we take a risk with our own peace. Many of us make this mistake. We meet someone, they speak sweetly, they make us laugh, they show us charm, and we think, I can trust this person. But my friends, trust is not built on words, it is built on actions. And actions must be consistent over time. If someone has never had to prove themselves, if they have never had to show you their integrity in difficult moments, then your trust is not on solid ground. It is on sand. And when the storm comes, when the test of character arrives, that weak foundation collapses. Let us ask ourselves honestly, how many times have we been hurt, not because the other person was too clever, but because we were too quick to trust? How many times did we believe promises without waiting to see if they would be fulfilled? How many times did we mistake temporary affection for genuine care? Trust is not something that can be taken for granted. It is a sacred bond, a silent agreement between two souls. And the moment someone breaks it, the moment they choose betrayal over loyalty, the damage runs deeper than we can imagine. That is why I say trust is earned, not given freely. If someone wants to be in your life, if they want your confidence, your loyalty, your openness, they must work for it. Just like a gardener waters a plant every day, just like a builder lays each brick carefully to construct a home, trust too must be built slowly, carefully, and consistently. Because once it is broken, no matter how much you try to repair it, the cracks remain visible. So, my dear friends, never make the mistake of giving away your trust without reflection. Never let someone into the deepest chambers of your heart until they have proven again and again through actions, through patience, through truth that they deserve it. Because your trust is not cheap. Your trust is priceless. And only those who truly value you will earn it, respect it, and protect it with all their heart. My dear friends, one of the greatest lessons life teaches us is this: people's actions are not random, they are patterns. When someone hurts you once, it is not just an accident to be brushed aside. It is a glimpse into their character, into their way of dealing with others, into their true colors. Yes, mistakes happen. Yes, people can slip, and sometimes they don't realize the impact of their actions. But more often than not, when a person chooses to hurt you, It is not a momentary lapse. It is a reflection of how they see you and how little they value your trust. Think about it. If a person lies to you once, what is stopping them from lying again? If they cheated you once, what guarantee do you have that they won't cheat you the moment it benefits them again? If they disrespected you once, do you really believe that respect will magically appear the next time? Human beings are creatures of habit, just as we all brush our teeth in the same way every morning, just as we follow the same route to work, just as we develop patterns in eating, speaking, or sleeping. People also develop patterns in their morality, in their honesty, in their loyalty, and those who once chose betrayal over loyalty are likely to choose it again. Sometimes, out of love or attachment, we close our eyes to these patterns. We say to ourselves, "It was only one time. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they'll change." But the reality is, if hurting you was easy for them once, it will be easier for them the second time. The barrier is broken. The line has been crossed. And each time you allow it, each time you forgive without accountability, you train them to believe they can get away with it. You teach them that your boundaries are flexible, that your heart is open to being wounded again and again. And sadly, many people take advantage of that kindness. Now, this doesn't mean we should become bitter or suspicious of everyone. No, that would poison our own hearts. But it does mean we must learn to read behavior carefully. If someone shows you once that they are willing to hurt you, let that be a warning. The same fire that burned you once will burn you again if you walk back into it carelessly. Trusting such a person again is like touching a flame with the hope that this time it won't burn. But my friends, flames will always burn. That is their nature. Life is too short to give endless chances to people who have shown you no desire to change. It is not about revenge. It is not about holding grudges. It is about wisdom. It is about protecting your heart from repeated wounds. It is about recognizing that you deserve better than to be hurt twice by the same hand. Once is a mistake, twice is a pattern. Thrice is a decision you allowed. So, choose wisely. When someone hurts you once, don't just feel the pain, see the message. That message says, be careful, because if you stay, this will happen again. Your peace, your dignity, and your well-being are too valuable to gamble on the hope that someone who hurt you once will suddenly become a saint. Believe in patterns, not promises. My dear friends, one of the most misunderstood concepts in relationships is the difference between forgiveness and trust. People often confuse the two, thinking that if we forgive someone, we must also allow them back into our hearts with the same access, the same intimacy, the same closeness as before. But this is not true. Forgiveness is a medicine for the soul, but blind trust after betrayal is poison for the heart. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself. When someone hurts you, when they betray you, when they leave you broken, carrying anger and resentment only chains you to that pain. Imagine drinking poison and hoping the other person suffers. That is what holding on to grudges feels like. Forgiveness releases that poison. It allows you to say, "I will not let your mistake destroy my inner peace." Forgiveness is not about them, it's about you. It's about letting go of the heavy stone you've been carrying on your back. When you forgive, you breathe again. Your heart becomes lighter. You are no longer trapped by the bitterness of what happened. But here is where many people fall into a trap. They believe that forgiveness means restoration of trust. They think, if I forgive, I must accept them again. I must let them close. I must give them another chance. No, my friends, Forgiveness and trust live in different worlds. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. Trust is a gift you give to another. And those two gifts are not equal. Forgiveness can be given unconditionally, but trust must always be earned. Imagine your home. If someone breaks in and robs you, you may forgive them in your heart so you can move on with your life. But will you hand them the keys to your home the next day? Of course not. You can forgive them, yet still protect your boundaries. You can release the anger, but still lock your doors. This is wisdom. In the same way, if someone hurts you deeply, yes, forgive them because you do not want to poison your soul. But trusting them again without proof of change is not kindness, it's carelessness. Sometimes people use forgiveness as a tool to manipulate. They hurt you, then they apologize with tears, saying, "If you really forgive me, you should trust me again." But that is not forgiveness. That is emotional blackmail. Real forgiveness is not measured by whether you allow someone back into your life. Real forgiveness is measured by the peace you feel inside. You can forgive someone and still decide that they no longer deserve a place in your inner circle. You can forgive and still create distance. You can forgive and still protect your dignity. This is a balance we must learn, because blind trust after betrayal is like walking into a snake pit after being bitten once, thinking, "This time the snake will not bite me." The snake may not even intend to harm you the second time, but its nature is still its nature. Your role is not to test whether they've changed, it is to protect yourself from unnecessary pain. So, my friends, forgive quickly but trust slowly. Forgive for your own peace, but trust only after evidence of change. Forgiveness is divine, but blind trust after betrayal is self-destruction. And the greatest act of love you can give yourself is to separate the two. My dear friends, there is a very subtle but extremely important difference we often overlook in our relationships. The difference between a mistake and a habit. Many times, when people hurt us, they come back with folded hands. They say, "I am sorry, it was just a mistake." And because our hearts are soft, because we value relationships more than ego, we forgive. But what we fail to recognize is this: a mistake is something that happens once, out of carelessness, out of ignorance, out of a momentary weakness. A habit, on the other hand, is a repeated pattern of behavior, a cycle that continues again and again, despite apologies, despite promises, despite second chances. Let us reflect. If a person forgets your birthday once, it can be a mistake. They may have been busy, overwhelmed, distracted. But if they forget every year, it's not a mistake, it's a habit of neglect. If a friend lies to you once, perhaps they panicked. Perhaps they didn't know how to handle the situation. But if lying becomes their default response, it is no longer a mistake, it's their habit. If a loved one disrespects you once in anger, maybe they lost control of their temper. But if disrespect becomes their language, their behavior, their way of dealing with you, that is not a mistake, it's their habit. The problem is we often confuse the two. Out of love, we tell ourselves, "It was only a mistake, let me forgive them." But when mistakes turn into patterns, when patterns harden into habits, and when habits become someone's nature, then forgiveness alone cannot heal the situation. At that point, it is no longer about their slip, it is about their character. And here, my friends, we must be careful. Because if you treat a habit like a mistake, you will end up being hurt again and again. Think of it like fire. If a spark lands on your clothes once, it may burn a small hole. That is a mistake. But if you keep standing near a burning flame and it keeps catching your clothes, that is no longer an accident. It is your choice to remain there. People reveal themselves not just in one action, but in repeated actions. As the saying goes, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Yet many of us, out of hope, keep convincing ourselves that the next time will be different. But my dear friends, hope without evidence is denial. Now, this does not mean we must be harsh or unforgiving. Everyone deserves compassion. Everyone deserves the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. But there is a big difference between offering compassion and allowing exploitation. If you see genuine remorse, if you see a sincere effort to change, if you see consistent growth, then perhaps that person truly made a mistake. But if their apologies are just words, if their actions do not change, if the same hurt repeats itself like a cycle, then what you are dealing with is not a mistake, it is their habit. And habits are powerful. Habits are not changed by tears or promises. Habits are only changed when someone is truly committed to transformation. And until that transformation happens, you must protect your heart. You must recognize that repeatedly forgiving a habit without accountability is not nobility, it is self-sabotage. So, my dear friends, the next time someone hurts you, pause and ask yourself, was this a mistake or is this a habit? If it was a mistake, forgiveness can rebuild the bridge. But if it is a habit, forgiveness without boundaries will only keep you trapped in a cycle of pain. Learn to differentiate between the two, for wisdom is not in how many chances you give, but in how clearly you can see the difference between what was accidental and what has become